So we haven't been together in many years. Now, is that everybody so far? That's everybody who's joined us? Okay, excellent. Well, it's good to
We
see
can't
everybody.
see.
How are you guys? You guys can't see anything?
No, we can't see if anybody
I
else
can
is
see
waiting.
it.
Oh, okay. I could see everybody. So, all right. So let me give a little bit of context. So we are streaming live, but I did not advertise this because I've been locked inside a monstrous organization with a lot of firewalls. So I have not played with LinkedIn Live in years. I've never used StreamYard, and so anyway, today we're just hanging out, but it's going to be on video and we can splice it if anybody says anything profound, but there's no pressure to say anything profound. So anyway, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
You.
Good. Good to see you guys. So context for all the people who don't know kind of where we're coming from with this. Way back when Google plus Hangouts on Air came about, I don't even know what year it was. I was a SourceCon editor from 2013 to 2016, but when Hangouts on Air came out, we just started hanging out on Thursday mornings, and it was just a bunch of practitioners who went to SourceCon regularly, and we would hang out and talk to each other, and people liked watching it. And so I have escaped from the corporate world recently and have a lot more freedom. And so I thought it'd be fun to reconnect with friends. So that's about the extent of the format here. So, all right, let's go around. Do y'all want to do introductions real quick?
Really?
Yeah, let's do introductions. Somebody, it's not like we might have viewers. So
we do have one viewer.
do we?
Right?
Can you guys see comments? I don't even know where to see LinkedIn Live comments.
It's on the right.
Oh, look, Steve Lechner. Look at that. So Steve Lechner and I sat next to each other in a boiler room many, many years ago. I think both of us don't even put it on our LinkedIn profiles, but yeah, we were cube mates in a place that tracked our dials and phone connectivity time each day, and we were hazed. It's closest I've been to a fraternity, and Steve was there. So
Well, God
good to
bless
see you, Steve. Yeah.
I'm glad you're still here.
you with Stephen. God bless you.
Yeah, I made it. So, all right. So I'll introduce myself first and then everybody else can. So my name's Jeremy Roberts. I am with Heiser Talent, which you've probably never heard of because I made that up. And it's just me and some friends right now. You can go to heisertalent.com to learn more about it. But basically, I left my corporate seat recently. I was leading a large team of sourcers, and I'm super excited to be working with new clients and kind of solving problems based on my years of experience. And so, anyway, so that's me. And I'm going to go around the screen. So Aaron, Jerry Garcia Lentz.
Yeah, I'm wearing tie-dye. Aaron Lentz, sourcing. I'm working at a place, Black and Veatch, now. So if you are a wastewater engineer,
I have a huge following. I have a huge following of wastewater engineers.
I'm big in plumbing, you know. But you know, it makes and yeah, we live in a world.
What about runoff and
no, that's reclamation. That's a totally different thing. That's totally, that's pedestrian. But when you
I heard they're all over TikTok.
That huge social presence footprint. But they're necessary, and they're we like to drink clean water. You can't live without it. So important stuff, whether it's got fluoride in it or not. And just love the game. Been sourcing for going on 15 plus years, and I love everybody in this room here. Are brilliant people, so love to learn from others.
Hey, hold on. I'm sending Amy Beth. Amy Beth was supposed to join us. So hold on.
I've also recently severed my brain. So this is just the me at work.
Your brain?
Severed or partitioned?
You have to have seen the show. It's not that it's an overrated show, but like the concept is, you
Severance? Is this Severance?
Yeah, get in the back.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
Oh,
I need to watch it. What do I have to? I just saw I had to join a different streaming platform, and I'm a member of everything except that one.
well, that's
If
why
I have to join a
it.
new one, I'm not doing it.
Just pirate it. Just pirate
It's
it. Like
really bizarre.
Where is it? What's it on?
It's on.
Apple.
I don't know if we should be talking about that
Yeah.
live.
Oh, the pirating? I would definitely not do that.
Don't
They
pirate. No,
They
don't
also have
pirate.
the Foundation series, so that's worth getting if you're a sci-fi nerd.
Oh, real quick. So Aaron, you're in sourcing. Is that identify and engage, or just identify?
Identify, engage, and get over the fence. So
you phone screen everything.
yeah, so my metric is how many people really, what's the ratio of submittals to acceptance to hiring manager. I can't control if they are, if they get hired or get an offer. I'd love to say that I could. I love those W's. I love to know with the recruiter how things are going. But what the piece of the puzzle that I can control is going after those people who we know where they work, we know where they are. We got to find every Pokemon and keep outreaching to them and getting them on the phone. So it's a persistence thing. But yeah, I also get to do some fun roles too. So I get to mix it up a little bit and getting more involved every day in what's going on.
All right. That is awesome. And now for people who didn't know Aaron back in the day, Aaron had back when we used to be involved in SourceCon, everything was manual, right? We were having to crawl websites and write X-ray search strings and guess email addresses and try to verify them. So everything that a lot of people hear, if you entered the industry recently, is kind of assumed functionality of software we're doing manually. What made Aaron super interesting when he entered the scene, he came from the marketing side. So he had a really interesting perspective of websites and how to find things. So anyway, I like to know kind of people's background because of that. But so he was really detail oriented and kind of SEO and search engine marketing and all those techniques. And then he found, I believe it was Irina, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of your first really detailed kind of dive into it.
And David Galley and the team there and amazing people. Really, take it seriously. Early on, I got to work on Shally, had this World's Greatest Sorcerer Challenge.
Yeah,
helped him a bit with that, with some other folks, and then when I bombed out on the SourceCon challenges because I wasn't as successful as some of the people in this room. I got good at making some of the challenges because I enjoyed that piece of it.
That's awesome.
Even though my brain isn't fast as the people in this room. So
right. No, that's awesome. Yeah. All right. So hey, Randy, tell us your background. Tell us about you real quick.
My name's Randy Bailey. I have been in this a long time. I've not counted the years.
Don't do it.
Yeah, quite a while. I am one of the grandmasters, although we're graced with several of us today.
But it's SourceCon, right?
Yeah, the
SourceCon Grandmaster. By the way, none of us are affiliated with SourceCon, but we're huge supporters. So there is no one here from the ERE media team. But you'll hear a lot about it, I think, because we're all that's how we kind of came together as friends. So yeah,
it's our community.
So,
it's our people.
So anyway,
and we do love it. I've migrated away from the direct sourcing and moved more into the talent intelligence space, which I always just think of as kind of the inverse of sourcing. Instead of trying to find a person, I'm looking at the overall what is the total market of who could do this role, and what's the data, using the data to tell stories of whatever the problem we're trying to solve is.
Don't go too deep there. I think we want to kind of have a full conversation about talent intelligence a little bit.
No, that's all.
So I love that.
Stop it.
And then professionally, what are you open to doing at this point? What's going on with you there?
Well, I'm hoping we're you and I are going to be working together with Amy Beth and
Yep.
finding some business. That should be fun. But looking for another talent intelligence role and using data to solve problems. I love the how love helping organizations become more data driven and utilizing data so that it's not just the hairs on the back of our neck guiding our decision making process. So
I like the way you put that. All right, now down to Carrie. What's up, Carrie? I've not seen you in years and years and years. Good to see you.
I know. I kind of fell off the face of the earth for a little bit.
That's
Cindy was
okay.
like, Cindy,
Sometimes we just have to do our jobs.
well,
Hang out with
yeah,
our families, you know?
It's I resonate so much with what you said. Like you're removing yourself from corporate, because I think I had to do that for a little while to really like figure out who I was. But hi, I'm Carrie Lynn McKinney. I'm currently doing sourcing and talent enablement at WGU with Cindy. So sorry, Cindy, I'm going to like take half of your intro away. But for those of you who don't know, WGU is a mission-driven online organization. So we're really working on some cool stuff to kind of help break down the barriers of having access to higher education. So super excited about that. Yeah, what else can I tell you? I'm terrible with introductions.
She's a grandmaster.
Yeah, she did win the SourceCon challenge one year.
I did. I think I kind of came in out of nowhere and everyone was like, who is this?
Yeah, who is that?
Who is this
On your first
30-year-old
try,
girl?
I was super
who's winning
impressed.
the SourceCon Grandmaster Challenge. And I still tell people that truly that was one of the most like proudest, I think, just moments of my career. And it really, it just pushed me so hard. And when I tell people about it, I get like really, really like intense feelings, because I remember like those moments of literally staring at my computer crying. And I'm like, what is the answer? Randy, you did it with me that year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was the one where with the poker and I think it was
like
the military one.
Long. It was like a 3-week scavenger hunt, because it was like part 1 and then part 2.
That was I think that was Aaron's.
Yep. No.
Jim.
Not the final, the challenge. I think you did.
No, it was Schneider's.
I was competing on it. That was the. What was it? It was that was the one we had to find. Not aerospace, but there's like some engineers in defense contracting or whatever.
Yes, that was the final. And it's funny because Cindy and I should say more Cindy. I did contribute a little bit. But we did our own like scavenger hunt at WGU just this past week for the recruiting team. And we kind of did like the follow the breadcrumbs, like one answer leads to another. And the team loved it so much. So we're going to try to do another one in a few months when we have another on site, but it was super fun.
That is awesome. Now, Cindy probably had the most exciting week. We'll see what she wants to share today. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm also at WGU as in talent. What is it? Talent enablement.
I literally forgot the name.
Whatever they want to call us. Yeah.
What do we call it?
We don't call it sourcing, but it is
It's
sourcing.
engagement. Talent engagement.
Talent engagement.
Recruiting is attraction. Sourcing is engagement. Sorry.
Nice.
Yeah. So I started the end of March, right after Carrie, and we're building up a steaming little team there. Our leader is Seth Davis, who's a 2-time hackathon winner, SourceCon hackathon winner, and doing great things. In my personal life, I'm getting married on Sunday. Woo! So it's been an exciting week.
So fill us in here. I mean, you don't have to share everything. We could have an offline conversation, but it seems fast. When was the proposal?
Well, we've been together a long time.
Yes. I was only together with my wife for 6 weeks before engagement, so I'm not judging. But
and I came back. We had a summit in Salt Lake City for work last week, and I came back, and he had proposed that night, and we said, when do we want to get married? And we're getting ready to move, so we figured we'd do it before we move. So
that is awesome. Well, congratulations.
thanks.
All right.
Yeah,
So, well, thanks for joining. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and I was Grandmaster in 2018.
Nice. Well, super cool. Well, good deal, everybody. So, so lots has changed, right? We kind of came together in the 2010s, right? Is when most of my first SourceCon I went to was 2010 in New York City, right? And I think all of us kind of started getting involved, you know, during that kind of time frame, 2010 to 2016. It's so much has changed, right? We were doing so many things manually. When I started at SourceCon, you know, we were programming the agenda, and it was like how to crawl, how to predict an email address, how to do all these things. And then by 2016, when I left, it was like I would organize a session and people would be like, doesn't ZapInfo do that? And then I would do another one. It's like, isn't that hiring solved now? You know what I'm saying? So everything that my brain was thinking about for the agenda had become automated, right? And so then you fast forward to today, and it is just, you know, so much further even. It's insane. So, so yeah, these are survivors, right? So, all right. So I
want to comment on that because I think everything's changed, but it also hasn't. Like it's always been changing. The various techniques that we would use on LinkedIn has changed constantly. Sometimes for the better, sometimes initially we don't think it's for the better, but then eventually I think come around. But the changes always happened, but it also hasn't. Like the core for me anyway, my core go-tos still work and still are what we're trying to or how I go about conducting my search. So I don't know. How do the others feel?
I mean, I think it's.
By the way, Cameron says hi, everybody.
I wish he could write back. I was gonna say hi, Cameron.
If anybody wants to send him the link and he's like not like, you know, laying there with his shirt off and he wants to join, he can. I know he's Pacific, so he might be a little early for him. But yeah, I would agree, Randy. It's funny, like the methods have changed, but at the end of the day, you still kind of need the core knowledge, right? It's no different than when we joined and everybody said that the job boards are about to take over, right? So, all right, so I pulled together some headlines to kind of guide conversation, right? First off, it's a really interesting time in recruiting, and I think the market is weird, right? There are tariffs. Companies are not sure what is going to happen. Recruiting teams are more lean than they've ever been. I've noticed that when the business gives a recruiting team the demand, if the recruiting team doesn't have enough people, the business is hesitant to hire because they think AI is going to do so much of it in the next 6 months, right? So we're at a very strange time. People are not at. Here's some headlines. The U.S. economy added 177,000 jobs in April, which surpassed expectations. The unemployment rate isn't horrible. It's 4.2%. And weekly jobless claims held at 229,000, indicating a stable labor market. And so what's interesting for recruiters is we're feeling it a lot more right now than what the actual news says, right? We've got a lot of peers who are out of work, right? So David Manister wrote a good article this week that talked about the state of talent acquisition, and he was talking about the COVID era overgrowth, right? Everybody hired too many recruiters right after COVID. And then now we're seeing efficiency over expansion. So companies who are not doing bad are laying people off to become more efficient, right? So we're seeing a lot of that. And then AI-driven restructuring. That's what I was talking about. People think AI is going to take over so much of the workflow, and that hasn't been proven yet, but they're still hesitant to add full-time headcount. And then if you think about a large enterprise, they're used to, you know, attrition is going to be a little bit different at every company, but companies where attrition is historically 12 to 15% is now down to 3%. So people aren't leaving jobs. So recruiting teams have fewer jobs to replace, right? And so that's having a big impact.
That's one that only we're aware of, right? Like we know that there's a hidden attrition number that's a goal that when they do their yearly plan or quarterly plan, nobody else talks about that. We're like one of the few people in the room when that number's thrown out. And yeah, for 5-6 years, they've been wrong, and it's always they're overestimating, and that's a really interesting contrast, because I saw like Microsoft I think they officially admitted they want 5% attrition every year. Like they want that as a goal. And that's not a real number, because we know the real number is probably closer to like 15%.
Right.
So like they don't want it to sound as bad as they really do, but yeah.
But then in this economy, though, people are scared to leave. Yeah. Right. Because and so now that number, if you take a company with 100,000 employees and you figure 15% attrition, how many jobs is that?
15,000.
Right. That's 15,000 jobs for a recruiting team to fill. So that drop, from 15 to 5% attrition drastically affects how many recruiters are needed. Right. Yeah. And so I think this is a piece of the recruiter economy that isn't talked about very often, right? And why recruiters right now are feeling it at a level beyond what our friends and family in different industries are feeling it, right? They're not quite, they don't get all the layers to it.
Right.
Okay, so other things affecting us, right? We've got return to office announcements. Those are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Amazon just mandated. Well, Amazon 5-day in office. AT&T back to the office. Dell. I worked at JP Morgan Chase earlier this year, and they've gone 5 days back into the office. That was a very short-lived experiment for me. I think I got in 3 weeks of that, and I am enjoying my at-home workouts and homemade coffee. So I have to say I did not love 5 days in the office, but how do you think, I guess first off, are any of you guys office mandate, or everybody here virtual?
I'm hybrid.
Okay.
3 days in, which is not bad, but nobody ever cleans the coffee maker. They never tell you that. Even the fancy pod thing, I'm like, I want it to taste a little vinegary, like once a month.
Yeah, you want to know.
That's how I know.
You want to know they cycled it
in that Keurig cup, and yeah, it's not happening. So, it's
take initiative.
Yeah,
So wait, Jeremy, I have a question for you. With 5 days in the office, even though it was only 3 weeks, how many of your meetings and calls were face to face versus just being on Zoom in a either like a conference room or at your
desk? No, that is a really good, and I think, and I can't speak to my past employer, so I'm going to speak in more general terms, right? But I do think if you think about a large enterprise like that,
your team is
a lot of those teams are disparate, but what I have seen companies like that do is, say you've got 20 people on a call, there will be 3 or 4 in an office, and then that group will get together and all log in together, right? I have to say, and I might be showing my age a little bit here, I don't think that CEOs are wrong about productivity and learning that takes place, and I don't know, like a lot of the people I hear complaining about return to office are people who understand their job inside and out and can execute and have been in those environments where they learned. Like if I had to think back on my career, I grew up in the search firm world where if I got a live candidate or a client on the phone or a prospect, I would raise my hand, and there was a second headset on my desk, and a manager would come and listen to my call with me, and he'd be writing on a whiteboard to remind me what to say, right? And so I think about all the things I learned by being close to people who were masters of the craft, that there's no way I could have learned that virtually, right? And so I know at this stage of my career, I am as productive as an individual contributor at home as I am in an office. I can tell you, leading a team, I can't get other people to be as good as they can be without being closer to them.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. So I have no doubt everybody on this meeting is better or more productive at home than they are in a building. I have no doubt about that. But young people or new people learn from you. And if you're trying to teach others, it's near impossible, to do it with the same level of effectiveness. So I don't know. That's my old guy opinion.
I think you're right. I think, I saw an article today where people are offering classes on making phone call skills to Gen Z people. How to make phone calls, how to schedule an appointment with a doctor, things like that. And they're talking about cue cards, and they're talking about taking breaths.
Like you can make money teaching people how to ask questions.
Life skills.
To basic life skills.
So to circle back on what you said, definitely when you have a more junior workforce, you can, I think it's essential to have them together so with yourself, so you can, train them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have seen a lot of people who, this is something I noticed when I was at a conference recently. A lot of newer people to the business, they were trained to use the workflow of their business and the software that their business owns, but they don't have a lot of the core. Like if you sat with a bunch of people who have been in the business for a really long time, we're going to have some like core fundamentals that we learned from John Vlastelica, Lou Adler, Jerry, you know what I'm saying, Jerry Crispo. They're just core fundamentals that we all know and have internalized. And that's kind of the foundation of the new things we're going to talk about, like how to use these tools. It's going to kind of all be rooted in these general agreed upon practices. And and I'm not saying they're not executing well, but a lot of the new generation of people don't have those core principles as a part of their foundational thoughts, and so that's been interesting.
They're just young and need to develop them. Like they're going.
I don't know. I don't want to be the grumpy old man that says they have to learn them if they're being more effective without them, right?
And they're going to learn evolved techniques that based as these tools change, just like we had to.
I'm trying to be open-minded as I approach them. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know I had some conversations, and I know that they don't have those core beliefs and understandings that a lot of us think are essential. And I don't want to say they'll fail because of it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure there's a happy middle ground. There's a lot of things that I know.
Or is it, that doesn't work and we're going to have to iterate?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to be open-minded, but I've seen a lot of people who don't have what we used to think was essential. And they're having success because they're loud on new platforms, To be
honest, you don't want to be the old guy in the room and say, you've got to pick up the phone or whatever. But to be honest, some of the things that we learned that were essential may not be essential anymore. If they're being, that's all I care about is the end result.
Yeah, that's what I don't know yet, Cindy, is what do I think is essential is no longer essential. And I don't want to be too cocky about that. Right. So yeah, it's an interesting, okay. Layoffs. I brought a list of companies. Burberry laid off 1,700, set to lay off approximately 1,700 employees by fiscal year 2027. EA recently cut 300. Southwest Airlines had a big cut, 15% of workforce. Starbucks, we have a good friend affected by that one. who has landed a new job. Congratulations. I won't say his name, but 1,100 employees globally. By the way, I won't even comment. I will comment. They all their baristas went on strike over wearing black T-shirts, right? Like, come on, you know, you can borrow a black T-shirt, go to a thrift store. I'm sure a large percentage of baristas like to thrift, right? So this will be my only controversial statement of the day. It'll be all right, you know. Black T-shirts is not a protest reason.
Like to thrift.
I'm generalizing. I'm just generalizing. I'm a thrift store junkie, right? And the vibe I get from a lot of baristas is I would see them at the thrift store when I'm there.
What was that story?
Do you know what I'm saying
about your first SourceCon, Jeremy?
Oh yeah, my first SourceCon that I was doing a presentation in front of like a few hundred people. I remember very clearly I had some what do you call it? Imposter syndrome. And I remember very clearly looking down and thinking the only thing I'm wearing that did not come from a thrift store is my underwear, you know? And I was like, here I am speaking to 300 people in all thrifted things, right? And so, yeah, I'm not critiquing thrift stores, but I'm just advising you can get black T-shirts for like $1.50 at a thrift store. It'll be okay. Yeah, I don't think Starbucks is breaking you that bad. You know. All right. Sorry for going on a rant.
Good story, I thought. So
thank you for reminding me of that, Randy.
I was gonna say I know.
All right.
I know LinkedIn Talent Insights got hit pretty bad.
Yeah.
What's that with layoffs?
Yeah. That I
saw.
Wow. I've had it with all of us. Have had rotating LinkedIn reps. Some better than others. I think the longest I've ever had a rep was for like 1.5 years. And
when I was at Walmart, we had the same one forever. Like
I'm pretty sure you had a bespoke. You had the deluxe version of customer service.
They were very good.
But yeah, no. So the couple that I followed, over the years, I saw just this week that they had a pretty significant layoff. I think somebody said half their team, and another person said like 3/4 of their team. So,
no, it's rough. I got
my first for that product, but it hasn't innovated much. I haven't seen any changes to it significantly in 3-4 years. So
I just started using Recruiter for the first time in years, and I'm like, it feels like I'm back in 2016.
That's just buttons that you won't use.
Well, and you know what? A part of my problem with Recruiter is there are so many people in it that they have to throttle it, right? So things like it's built in a way that you have to buy a bunch of seats and a bunch of people have to sit there and click. Like there's not a lot of, like, to me, when I was helping to develop software like this, my goal was, okay, write a search. There are 800 people who fit that search, select all, know that there aren't false positives in it, put them in a campaign and go to the next one, right? Like that to me is good software. But if you think about how many recruiters there are, and if LinkedIn allowed that, how much spam there would be, right? So I get why they do it, but that's my biggest frustration with it is there's so many clicks and it's so slow to complete a process that, that whole throttling mechanism, it's like, we could do this faster, but they can't. So,
well, they could also just put the top 5% at the first page of results, right? Like they could very easily do that. But if they did that, like you said, everyone would get spammed. All those
and diversity issues and
right. So they have to sandbag the product.
And that's a great way to put it.
So it's weird. They have like these weird
competing priorities.
Yeah, and you only see that as you go to page 20. You're like, but these people are still good. But you have to reach page 20, which nobody has the attention span for.
Here's my problem with LinkedIn and people's reliance on LinkedIn. not everybody is on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is there. I saw a study a few years ago that only 30% of iOS developers are on LinkedIn. I mean, if you're limiting yourself to LinkedIn, you're really not doing yourself a favor.
But how much time are you going to spend trying to find using other methods?
That's exactly
the $1 million question.
Well, this is
it's
hanging fruit.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but it's still the quickest way to do it.
Yeah,
it's the most robust, best tool that exists.
But I will say,
go ahead, Carrie.
With all its flaws.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but now that I'm not like working for a straight tech company, higher ed, I'm seeing that like there's a lot less candidates on LinkedIn who we reach out to, and who respond. So I do think a lot of it is the industry too.
But like higher ed is easy to find.
Yes, totally. Depending on what position you're looking for, but that's another conversation.
They're going to be listed on wherever they're working on, like there's going to be department pages, whatever.
Yeah.
With that.
Well, that's for instructors and things.
Yeah. So the behind the scenes people are.
We do. Yeah. Cindy and I do a lot of like the ed tech behind the scenes.
Like I'm working on a role that's supposed to come up that is a product manager that comes up with new ideas for certifications. Like they're not listed anywhere.
Cameron made a good. I hate that I can't respond back to the comments, but Cameron said the UI for LinkedIn Recruiter has taken a real step backwards. Yes, that. And I think that is 100% true. It really feels like it's not progressing forward, but it's going backwards. And are you muted?
That's what I do so I don't interrupt people. That's like my coping mechanism. Okay. So yes, I had gone on mute. But I was going to say like the reason is, well, because there's like 5 times I'll start to talk and then I realize I'm over talking. So anyway, but no, I think Cameron's right. And I think it's intentional to slow us down because of the spam problem. So
good call out, Cam.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate with that. I disagree. I don't think it's to slow us down. I think they're trying to improve with the AI with various things. I don't like how they've done it. Like it's.
You think they're trying to improve?
Supposedly the like AI, and intentionally doing air quotes.
Yeah. Can I just I just want to like, now that I don't work for a big company who will get mad at me. There are a couple things I want to say about LinkedIn is like, if you become unemployed and then you try to do anything with LinkedIn and then they try to charge you, I think that's evil. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, like you have to upgrade. You have to upgrade when you're unemployed. That's like the most bizarre thing ever. When 90% of your revenues come from recruiting, to charge unemployed people, I just think is horrible. So that's my first thing. My second thing, when I opened my own firm, I got a message. Hi, I'm your LinkedIn rep. And it's like, well, no, you're not. I would have to be a customer for you to be my rep. Do you know what I'm saying? You are not my rep. I haven't given you money. And then she's like, which account would you like? Like it was completely assumed. And I was like, I don't want one. And then she was like, well, what are you going to use to recruit? And I'm like, proven base, whatever I want, like this is what I'm going to do. And I said, by the way, my first clients are all advisory in nature, so I'm not going to actively be recruiting. So I'm going to wait for now. And she said, okay, but our prices go up next week. I'm like, this is so cheap. Do you know what I'm saying? Like what sale, like the first pivot is our prices are going up next week. And so I was really disappointed, but I shouldn't be surprised. But that's been my recent interactions. So
there was the equivalent of that whiteboard. That person was using with the, this is the objection that you tell them, operators are standing by. We've got.
It probably wasn't a human. I mean, like, let's be real. It probably wasn't actually a person, I guess.
I do when you get free shipping.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah. No, it could have been.
It was a chatbot? Or was it?
I mean, it could have been, and I'm just like the old guy who thinks I made a new friend. You know, I'm fighting with it, right? I'm like sitting there fighting with something that's totally fake.
Steven just made a very good point too, though, about LinkedIn, about the scams. There have been so many lately.
Yes.
It's people wanting to help or help you find a job, and I've seen 3 or 4
fake offers. It's so sad.
Yes.
I've never gone down the path, so I've never gotten that far. Like
a fake offer to get you to give your social or your personal information. Like,
yeah, they want your personal information.
That's what I've always wondered that, like, what is the end goal of giving someone a fake job interview, like, or fake job offer? Is it like getting their bank account to pay them? Like,
give me your direct deposit information.
Get your personal information so they can hack it.
But that's a really long game. That's a long process.
But I mean, if it's a good account,
out there.
They sell the information to people, and people aggregate the information with other information they have, and pretty soon they have your whole profile. It happened to me yesterday. I was looking to get a replacement for my Social Security card, and I Googled it, and the first thing that popped up, I didn't look, stupid me. First thing that popped up wasn't the government site, it was the other site. And I go looking at the form that you have to fill out, and it asks for your mother's Social Security number and birthday and your father's Social Security number and birthday. Social Security is never going to do that.
No, neither is my mother.
No, my dad.
She'd be like, "What are you doing?"
I'll go for it. I called my dad and I said, "What's your Social Security number?" He goes, "Why do you need my Social Security number?" And I said, "For my Social Security card." He goes, "That's ridiculous." And then my dad, who's 86 years old, sends me a text that says, ChatGPT says that the Social Security Administration will never ask for your parents' Social Security number.
Good job, Dad. You don't have to worry about him.
No.
I think
That's
we're
awesome.
also seeing it. Steven said he got a fake offer this week, but I was working with a woman doing some career coaching, and she got 2 fake offers on Indeed. And so I think it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just, I think AI makes it easier and easier for it to happen. And Jeremy, to your point about LinkedIn charging for job seekers, that is like just really.
I just think it's horrible.
And Indeed is now charging it. I don't know if you saw that, but that was like a big thing on my LinkedIn. They now have like a premium service for job seekers where you can pay to, I think it's like have your resume like show up at the top of employer search. So it's just really sad how many companies are taking advantage of the really
especially unemployed recruiters who are going to be paying customers at some point. They should be doing everything they can to get them jobs.
I agree completely. Hey, one thing that I think everybody knows, a lot of people who are kind of looking right now. So since we're in this space, do y'all want to go around and kind of give advice to our peers who might be looking for roles or jobs at this point? Or if you're actually looking and you want to pitch yourself, do that. So do y'all want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. Let's start with Carrie.
My biggest tip, gosh, I mean, I think this is what I tell everyone I work with career coaching is I know when you get into that mode where you just feel desperate to find a job, you just want to start like throwing your profile at every different thing. But the more that you can be intentional about it, the more you will align yourself with the right opportunity for you. And so I think just being intentional about your job search is so important. You know, set aside that intentional time, an hour, 2 hours a day, but don't let yourself get frantic because you're going to get stuck in a spiral of just applying and never land somewhere. Like you have to be intentional about it. That's what I think would be my biggest.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, Cindy? What would you say?
I've never gotten a job by applying. Maybe
me either.
When I first got out of college, but in the last 20 years, I have never gotten a job out of applying. It is all about your connections and all about building those relationships. And I'm not talking about just connecting with somebody on LinkedIn. I'm talking about nurturing that. If you're not unemployed right now, then it's a good time. Keep up with those relationships. Like I said, every job I've got has been a referral. And
Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty is a book my dad gave me one time when I was like 21.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But if you're in the situation right now, reach out to former coworkers, reach out to former managers, ask do you know. What happened to Jeremy?
We just lose the host of the. Keep going, Cindy. We got this. We can pivot.
Yeah, we can pivot. Reach out to who you know, people you've worked with in the past, people you grew up with. Even I got a job referral from somebody I went to high school with that I haven't talked to in ages. And just, anybody you can think of. Keep up your, my Facebook network is huge. And it's everybody that's touched my life. And that, I know people say, oh, Facebook, blah, blah, but you know what? It works.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What's up with you, Randy?
I would say for the job search, to everybody's point, or building on even Cindy a little bit, when you apply, I often try not to just apply, but find some into the company to get a human to look at you. Not necessarily to interview you, not necessarily to get you the job, but just to try and get past the systems. You're going to have to apply and go through the formal process too, but having that human touch can often make the difference in at least getting the interview.
Right.
I love that.
Yep.
What's up with you, Aaron?
Ditto to what everybody said, to be honest. I think it's, a majority of the jobs that I've gotten have been referrals from friends and people that I know. And I guess the only other piece that I'd say is the situation that we're in right now demands a little bit of humble pie. You've got to come into the interview with a little less swagger and talk about your work ethic and talk about your desire to adapt and all the intangibles that we talk about in those final round interviews when you compare people. It's who has the grit, who has the team effort, who has the overall mindset to be adaptable to things and just go with the punches without being too cynical. So yeah, those are maybe that's a personal thing, but for me, that's been effective.
Can I do a shameless plug here?
Yeah, go for it.
Stephen Lechner posted his LinkedIn profile on the chat. This guy, he just left Walmart after 8 years, and this guy is phenomenal. This guy is nonstop work from 8 to 6. Definitely.
That's him right there, everybody. If you want to know how to spell his name, yep, I would agree. I know from 2004 that dude will sit and pound the phones. I heard him. Yep. I heard him 9 hours a day. So, but yeah, he is not just that guy either. He's evolved. So, all right. So I'll give my 2 cents on the job market. So I left. Well, I guess first off, raise your hand if you're making less right now than you've made in the past. Okay, so there's the humility, right? Like right now, when it comes to people who are at the top of their game, I will say that everybody on this is good at what they do, right? And I know that not just because we've pontificated about it at conferences, but because I know people who have employed all of these people and they've proven themselves, right? And so everybody here is making less than they've made in the past, and that's hard to swallow, right? So this is not a market to go out there and expect. You need to stay employed right now, right? And that takes humility, and it's not always a great thing. So when I found out that I was going to be on the market in this economy, I was a little bit nervous, right? And I spent probably 2 or 3 weeks like really looking at open jobs and then talking with people who I knew had open jobs. And it became really obvious to me that I wasn't going to be able to replace my income entirely with what was open on the market right now, and the current realities of, like, when I started calling people who I knew who were heads of talent acquisition, I'd say 40% of them are no longer in the role that is on their LinkedIn profile, and they are looking, right? But they have not updated their profile yet. And so because I was calling VPs and heads of talent who I knew from when I organized conferences and sold software, I saw that really quickly. And I was like, I don't really, my family situation and my lifestyle, I don't want to sit around and compete with these people for the next 9 months. You know what I'm saying? And so I realized really quickly that looking for an open job wasn't my strategy. So I'll be really transparent with my conversations that now have me really busy. And that was, I'm a firm believer that in this market where people don't want to add full-time headcount because of AI, and they don't know what demand is going to look like next year, and they don't know how tariffs are going to affect their business, the one thing that I do know is everybody has problems they're trying to solve, and they have money somewhere. And so the way I started approaching the calls was, what problems are you trying to solve this quarter? What are you thinking through? What can I help you think through? Mm-hmm. Where do you have money? Some people had 2 low-level contractor roles they could combine. Other people had money for an ATS project that they didn't go through with, right? So there were pockets of money, and me being open to accepting those pockets of money without a full-time offer has me in a situation that I'm not scared in. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I think, and I know that some people have to have insurance. This is the first time in my career that I've been in this position where I had an insurance option outside of my employer. And so that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm taking that and running, and just, I'm looking for problems and money. You know, you got a problem to solve. Where's the pocket of money that you can use? And this is how much of me you can get for that amount of money. And so try that. You know, that's got me to where I'm not totally freaking out, because there's enough of that to solve problems. So anyway, that's my approach. The only problem with that approach is you need to think about when these projects end, having another one lined up, right? So obviously, the longer the project, the better. But yeah, it's not a horrible market. There is money, there are problems, but people are hesitant to add full-time headcount. I think it's mostly they think AI is going to do so much next year, and they want to invest in that, so they're hesitant. I think it's more that than it is economic problems at this point. But
I was going to say the one you were talking about, the ATS that they're not ready to pull the trigger on or whatever, because like I said, everyone wants this. It's like the electric cars, right? Like, we know they're not 100% practical yet. Mm-hmm. We know that's the future. We know that the ATS doing some kind of AI screening is going to happen. Is that going to be adapted super quickly? Am I going to have to rip out my whole ATS just to do that? Or is it a vendor that bolts on? Nobody seems to know. Like, I went on Workday's website yesterday, and like, I'm sure they have like 3 or 4 partners that do. They only have one, or at least they only list one partner that they can do this with, and that's not choice. You know, that's not what companies want. They don't. You know, so it's interesting. I think we're still in a wait and see kind of mindset. So companies probably will wait a year or 2 rather than do a half step and then have to change again in 2 years. So it's I think we're still in a wait and see kind of mindset, which I hate.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So I tell you what, you guys, I had fun. I tried to mute so I didn't speak the whole time. I think one of the things like that we touched on for a second that we didn't go back to that I want to cover on the next one is sourcing and talent intelligence. What is talent intelligence, market intelligence? How are companies leveraging that? I think a lot of people who were sourcers in 2015 are on the cutting edge of the talent intelligence movement. And two people, I know Randy, that's kind of his niche. And then Amy Beth Quinn, who was the very first SourceCon editor, is really passionate about it as well. And I believe that I had told her the wrong time for this call. I think she was expecting it to be at 10 o'clock. So I'm very apologetic for that because she was supposed to be here with us. But I think on the next one, I want to dive into talent intelligence and kind of educate the market on what that even means, how companies are using it. You know, what can you do as a talent intelligence function versus what should you know as an individual contributor about talent intelligence, right? And then how do you gather it? How do you present it? All of that. So, so based on the little things that kind of seeped out about that, I think that would be, and I think that differentiates people too. If you're going after a job, I think everybody wants more of that. And demand planning, it kind of all comes together, right? I think it's a key differentiator. So let's plan on diving into that one in the near future, maybe next week. I don't know how often we should do these, but anyway, any closing wisdom or comments from the panel?
I would say as well. Advice to job seekers, recruiters who are looking, talent intelligence is super important and the next thing. And I think that if you get your Power BI skills up, take a class on that or Tableau or something like that, and learn as much as you can about talent intelligence and market intelligence, because I think that's really going to differentiate you from the typical recruiter.
I would agree. Between now and our next meeting where we talk about this, what would you guys recommend people dive into? What are some of the resources that would help people get, obviously Tableau and Power BI, right? Those are good tools. Where could somebody go to kind of do a little bit of pre-research on the topic?
So Udemy or Coursera both have really good programs that you can learn. You know, it's like I think Udemy's like $35 a month or something like that. And you can take as many classes as you want.
Yep.
Randy,
go ahead.
Some of the vendors, I talked to a vendor in this space 5 times before they would let me see a demo. They just wanted to know more, probably as much as that fake job offer, before I could actually see the product and learn about pricing. So that's why like I said, you see more of the enterprise as in the build it solution, because they probably already have licenses for Power BI and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought that was closing music.
It is.
Right? Yeah. That was the close.
Sweet home.
I also, where was I going with this? Oh, ChatGPT deep research, right? If you haven't used deep research and really learned how to prompt deep research, you could build an incredible, like when I have a new client, for example, I'll use one of my ChatGPT deep research credits to really dive deep, and you could just keep prompting it and it'll go out and look for jobs that have been posted. It'll do a lot of what these tools will do. So I would think, like, if you don't have access to advanced tools, learning to prompt ChatGPT deep research would be a great thing. And we should cover that next week, right? When we do the talent intelligence piece.
And Mike Wolford has, I think, a course on using the ads.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the big...
Cameron just shared a link too. Like LinkedIn has a course. Like there are a lot of resources out there. Thanks.
I'm a little weary of the LLM for talent intelligence, just because I think you're getting just very middle ground. You're not getting any custom or specific analysis on what your question is, versus what the various tools out there that were the labor market data tools. Companies that have those tools it's gonna be much more specific to your need most of the time anyway. So I'm weary of the LLM for.
I'm weary. So what I always try to do is, if I'm talking about, like, I've actually worked on this for AI, and I'm building like a visual for it, right? There are, in my proposed model, there are 5 different layers of AI. And the 5th is the ERP systems, the Workdays, and the Oracles. What can you do in those with AI? All the way down to, I have 0 budget control and I'm an individual sitting there expected to execute. What do I need to know? Right. So I would say for talent intelligence, it's the same, right? You've got your $20,000 tools that do it very detailed, and then you've got,
only if you ask the right question.
Exactly. I'm going to a meeting with a hiring manager. How do I have an intelligent conversation? And I have no budget, right? So I agree with you, Randy, but you gotta educate for every kind of persona.
Yeah. So I did at RecFest last year, I did a presentation on talent intelligence on a budget. That's perfect. Yeah. I was doing talent intelligence at GitHub, and we had no money for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was I had no fancy tools, no Gartner, no nothing like that. And it was, anyway, I'll try to find that presentation.
That would be cool. That would be a really cool kind of, so be sure we'll make sure it's after the honeymoon. It's post honeymoon. So you can jump in.
Well, there's no honeymoon right now.
Okay. Well, all right, everybody, we've gone over. I can hang out with you guys all day, but it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. I think it's marketable. We didn't tell everybody to join us, but don't you think it's marketable? People might enjoy.
Thanks for putting this together, Jeremy. It was
this is
really super fun.
Yep. Good to see you guys. Thank you all for joining. And then we'll do it again soon. Awesome. I'm looking for music. I'm looking for an outro, but I can't get to it fast enough. So wait. Hold on. Here we go. I've got some music for the outro. Oh, I turned the volume down. Well, here it is. Here it comes. There we go. See you guys.